light, you got artificial light, you got all this thing going on, and the little difference, one window, can make a big difference. But the next word is process. The product. So you have to ask yourself, what change can I make in my product that will affect and make a big difference? Small changes, big difference. The second word is process. Process is how you do things. The first one is product is what, process is how. Now, if you change the product, it is difficult to change. But process is harder to change. Process is how you do things. The protocols of the house. For example, how are decisions made? How do you go from point A to point B? If you're trying to change the product, what approvals do you need to get? And in what order? What are the processes that take you, and how do you make those decisions? How are you organized as a business? Now, most people start a business, most people start a church, most people start doing something, but they do not give enough time to the process. The process is, how do I get from here to there? For example, after this is over, I will leave from here, go to the airport, catch a flight, and go to Abuja. Now, every step of the way, there's going to be a process. So for me to get from here to Abuja, what's the first thing I'll have to do? The first thing I got to do is put down the mic. Second thing I got to do is start walking this way. Are you following me? Third thing I got to do is walk out of the door. Fourth thing I do is take a left and get in the car. Fifth thing, they're going to start driving the car towards the airport. Are you following that? Every step has to be thought out. Does not matter how much of a praying man I might be, how much I fast, how much I pray, how much I speak in tongues, I will not get to Abuja unless I lay the mic down and start walking. So can I tell you the first step to get to Abuja is what? Put down the mic. Because a small change can make a big difference. So you say, does putting down the mic and walking down these steps important to getting to the Abuja? There's no other way. Because the Lord is not going to translate me from here to there. So some of you want to get to your destination, whatever that destination might be, in your business, in your church, in your family, whatever the destination is. The first question you have to ask yourself is, what's the process? What is the next thing I have to do? If you want to take a course with Dr. Charles, he has a leadership forum, he has a mentoring forum that you can take with him. What you have to do is to contact the office. That's the next step. Get an application. That's the next step. Fill out the application. Now you can get the application, put it on the table with a pen next to it, and pray over it. Is anything going to happen? You can take anointing oil from Jerusalem and pour over the application. Is anything going to happen? So, we all have plans. The reason you are here in this room is because you want to go somewhere. Is that not true? The reason you're in here is because you have holy ambition to accomplish something for the Lord. Is that not true? The reason you're in this room is because you feel there's a destiny for you. But this is what I know about people, especially church people. They are waiting for God to do something for you. May I tell you, He's done everything He's going to do. When He hung on the cross, He said, "It is finished." So what you and I have to say to ourselves is exactly what Pastor said. What is the small change I can make that will make a big difference? For some of you, it is making that first phone call. For some of you, it is getting that appointment. For some of, people say, "I want to write a book. I want to write a book." Dr. Charles, how many books have you written? 2, okay. You know how he started writing a book? He got a piece of paper. started doing what? Writing. This is not deep. He didn't just sit there and say, here's a pen. Oh Lord, move my hands, so I'll write the words. No, he just wrote. Just started writing. Next thing you know, you have a book. Then I saw another book that he gave to me this morning. I look forward to reading. It says Volume 2. When somebody publishes a book which says Volume 2, you can assume there's a volume. Is that not true? Nobody will write a book saying Volume 1 and Volume 2 and just leave it at that. So even as he's writing Volume 2, he's thinking about Volume 3. But the step is he's got to print Volume 2. Sell Volume 2. Get enough resources out of Volume 2 to be able to print Volume 3. I'm trying to give you illustrations to say to you that whatever you're going to do, the first question you have to ask yourself, the first question is, what is my very next step? That's the most important question you're going to ask yourself. So for me to get to Abuja, my very next step is going to be what? To put down the microphone. That's the process. And then the third word was what? People. People. So product is what? Process is how? So let me see if you can guess. People is who? When would be time? Because time is part of the process. Time is part of the process. So product is what? Process is how? People is who? Product is hard to change. Process is harder to change. But people is hardest to change. You know, a friend of mine says ministry would be wonderful if it wasn't for the people. People mess up everything, don't they? People are your best asset. People can also be your greatest discouragers. People. What are the things you have to do in your life to make a small difference that will bring a small change that will make a big difference? For example, when you're talking about the people, you have to ask yourself, what kind of people am I surrounding myself with? Here's the thing for you to remember. Please remember this. The 3 to 5 people closest to you will determine your destiny. The 3 to 5 people closest to you will do what? Determine your destiny. Everyone together. The 3 to 5 people closest to you will do what? Determine your destiny. In fact, I can tell you where your life is and where your life is headed by simply looking at your phone. I just need to look at your phone and look at your caller ID. The people who are talking to you, they control your destiny. So who are you talking to? And then the question becomes, which voices are negative and which voices are positive? Can I ask you, will you all be honest with me if I ask you a question? How many of you have people in your life that you would consider positive? Can I see your hands? Positive people, positive people. It's okay. All right. Put your hands down. I'm going to ask the other question. How many of you have people in your life that you would consider negative people? Can I see your hands? We call them relatives. Negative people who have no ambition themselves. Negative people who chose not to come to 2013 Leadership Conference and asked and wanted to wonder, why are you going to go? Negative people who are wondering, why are you going to take time from work and spend a whole day negative people. Negative people are not going anywhere themselves and don't want you to go anywhere. They always are discouraging. They always are keeping you down. And I'm here to say to you, the only way you can go forward, I'm talking about small changes that make a big difference. The only way you can go forward is to cut out the negative people from your life. Even Jesus could not do miracles as long as there were unbelievers in the house. In fact, if you look at the story of Jairus' daughter being raised from the dead, he kicked out all the negative people. He even left his disciples out there, just took Peter, James, and John with him inside the house. You want some positive people who are going with you. So who are the people around you? If you were to get rid of one negative voice, you can have a more positive day. Now this is what I know. One negative person can have a stronger voice than 10 positive people. Give an example. Let's just say I have made my presentation this morning, and at the end of the presentation, 100 of you come by, shake my hand, and say, Dr. Chan, that was very good. That was very helpful. I learned a lot. This is going to be very, very good for me. And you shake my hand. But one of you goes by and says to me, Dr. Chan, that was the most dull and boring message I have ever heard. I did not learn one thing. It was a total waste of time. I wonder why I came. Why do you do that? If one person said that, 100 said it was very good, but one person said it was terrible, which one am I going to remember? That one person. So do you see the power of one person who is negative that overcomes the voices of 100 people telling me it was good? That is how our brains are wired. And that is why, as much as possible, you need to cut out the negative people from your life. Now, if you are married to a negative person, I don't have any help for you. Maybe next year's conference will be redirecting the course of your marriage. Because we're talking about small changes that make a big difference. So I need for you to, before I go on to my next set of 3 words, is I want you to think about, the first word was what? Product. Which is the what? Which is hard to change, right? The second word is process. Which is the how? Which is harder to change. The third word is people. Which is the who, which is the hardest to change. One change, one small change can make a big difference. The second set of 3 words I want you to write down. Idea. Word number 2, implementation. Word number 3, impact. What's the first word? Second? Third? First word? Second? Third? Those are the 3 steps. And you have to make small changes in each one of them to get a what? Big difference. Idea. This is what I know. Every one of us has ideas. But very few people do anything with their idea. Have you ever had an idea and then in 3 months' time you see somebody else had the same idea, but they did something with it? Maybe you ladies had a style idea, but somebody else got the idea and did something with it. The problem is not that we don't have ideas. The problem is very few people do something with their idea. So first thing you got to do with an idea, I'm going to talk about small changes because I'm going to stay on my assignment. My assignment is what? To talk about small changes that make a big difference. When you get an idea, here's some things you need to do with it immediately. Write it down. The first thing you do is what? Write it. You don't tell anybody. You don't say anything. You simply do what? So can I tell you what's going to happen today? Can I tell you what's going to happen today? What's going to happen today, because I was listening to Dr. Charles when he was talking about what's going to happen today. You will have so many ideas today. And I want you to, as ideas come to you, as you are taking notes, just write the idea down and circle it. Write the idea down, circle it. Write the idea down, circle it. And by the end of the day, you'll have some ideas to do something. So the first thing you do is what? You write it down. Habakkuk says to us, Habakkuk 2 and 3 says to us, take the vision and do what? Write it down and make it plain so that he who reads it will do what? So that means when you write it down, it brings clarity. When it brings clarity, it brings motivation. And motivation allows you to run. Not walk, but do what? Run towards your vision. Most people make the mistake of, okay, let me ask you this way. Have you ever been in the middle of the night, when you're trying to sleep, you got a great idea. And you thought you're going to remember it in the morning. And you woke up in the morning saying, what was that idea? What was the idea? It was such a good idea. What was that idea? So you know what I do? I don't go anywhere without some paper with me. Every pocket, I got paper and a pen. Next to my bed, there's always paper and pen. In my car, there's always paper and pen. Doesn't matter where I am, I have something to write it down. Because I know I have lost great ideas because I thought I was going to remember it in the morning. And in the morning, all I remember was I had a great idea, but I do not remember the idea. So first thing you do is what? Write it down. Once you've written it down, then you seek God's guidance. The second thing you do is do what? Seek God's guidance. Because the Bible tells us in Psalm 127 verse 1, unless the Lord do what? They do what? Labor in vain that build it. Unless the Lord build the house. So you are asking the Lord, is this the house you want me to build? Because not every idea is your idea. I have ideas that I have given away to other people because I cannot do every idea. I can tell you, I'm an idea junkie. I have more ideas in one day than most people do in a whole year. So you know what I've started doing with my ideas? Now, I'm going to give you a secret of my life. Secret of my life. What I've started doing is when I have an idea that I know I cannot do but somebody else can do, I will call them, email them and say, I have an idea, why don't you pray about doing the idea? It's your idea now. I give ideas away because the Bible says whatsoever man does what? So, that shall he also. Now we always talk about that in money. It's not just about money. What the Bible says whatsoever. So if you sow ideas into other people's lives, guess what God is going to give to you? You know what we like to do? We take ideas and we like to hoard them. We like to keep them to ourselves. We don't want to give an idea away to somebody. Did you know the more ideas you give away, the more ideas you're going to have? Because the way you reap great ideas is to sow. So if you have an idea but you have a friend who can do something with that idea, why don't you call your friend and do something with that? Because that's what an idea is. But the next word after idea is what? Implementation. Implementation is what are you going to do with the idea? What you're going to do with the idea. How you're going to implement the idea. So here, let's talk about what's going on today. Let's talk about Dr. Charles. He had an idea to have a conference. You've been doing this conference for 7 years? 7 years. 7 years ago, so I want to say 8 years ago, he had an idea. Then he started asking himself, I have an idea. Then he wrote it down, then he prayed about it. God said to him, green light. Go. Then he had to start thinking about how do I implement it. So implementation, the first thing I had to do in implementation was to see the dates. What dates work for him. Then he had to see speakers. He had to see budget. He had to see advertisement. He had to see organizing. He had to see invitations. He had to see registration. He had to see facilities. Are you following me? All those became part of the implementation because it all started with an idea, but unless you're willing to implement the idea, it's simply going to remain an idea. In every country, there are cemeteries, graveyards. Those cemeteries and graveyards are full of poets who never wrote a poem, full of singers who never sang a song, full of authors who never wrote a book. They all had ideas, but they did not do anything with it. May I suggest to you that you're not getting younger? How many of you are getting younger? I don't care what you drink, what you smoke. You're not going to get younger. Would you agree we're all getting older? So that means your implementation time is getting what? Shorter, not longer. So you've got to do something with your idea, implementation. One of the greatest things that can happen out of Lagos Leadership Conference 2013 is that every one of you not only has an idea, but starts doing what? The implementation. And the third word is what? Impact. Impact is what is the result of that idea and the implementation. So, if once this conference is over and I was to sit down with Dr. Charles and say to him, so you had an idea. And you went through all of this to make the implementation. What was the impact? Because you see, at the end of the day, he's not trying to make money on this. I can tell you that much. At the end of the day, the impact is that there'll be ladies and gentlemen in this room who can be helped to make small changes that will make a big difference. So if he can see people making small changes that are making big differences, he will feel like his idea, his implementation is having the impact. So here's the question you need to remember. How do you measure impact? 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 If you were a telephone maker, you would measure impact by number of sales. Correct? If you are an airliner, you would measure the impact by number of passengers that are flying. If you're a hotel, you'd measure the impact by how many rooms are rented out, leased out every night. If you are a restaurant, you measure impact by how many meals you sold. Are you following me? If I'm a shoe store, I'm going to measure impact by how many shoes that are sold. Are you following me? If I'm a church, I'm measuring impact by how many people are coming and how many people are investing in their life. You have to measure impact. The tragedy of most businesses and churches is that we don't know how to measure. For example, let's talk about church for a moment. The question is not how many new people come to your church. The question is how many of those people who come to your church return. If I was to go to Chicken Republic, the question is two questions. How many chickens do you sell? Important, because that allows me to know how many to order, how many to cook. But the second is how many of your customers come back again and again and again and again and again. That's how you measure impact. So every business and every church has to have ways that you measure impact. Now, in my case, what I'm doing today, can I tell you how I'm going to measure impact? I will not be here for the duration to see what you're going to do with it. He will. So the way I'm going to measure impact is for him to know that I delivered on what he asked me to do, but more than that, that he feels that his idea was implemented and there's a positive impact. If he feels there's impact, I feel there's impact. Are you following me? So, idea, what's the next word? Implementation, and the next word is impact. So let me review again. The first set of words. The first one was what? Product, which is the what? Which is hard to change. I'm going to keep doing this till you get it. My impact, you know how I'm going to know the impact? That at the end of today, you'll be able to repeat all the words without looking at your notes. Smile. There you go. So first, let me start over again. The first word is what? Product, which is the what? Which is hard to change. The second word is process, which is how, which is harder to change. The third is people, which is who, which is harder to change. Very good. Give yourself a hand. Very good. Good class. Good class. Good class. You're doing good. I'm going to keep doing this because you know how I'm going to measure impact? Is that at the end of today, you will remember all of it without looking in your notes. The second set of words is idea. The next is, and next is impact. Very good. 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 Smart people. Very good. Very good. You know what my role today is? My role is to prepare you for all the other speakers. I'm John the Baptist. Preparing the way for the rest of the speakers. You're the set of the third words. Next set of words. The heart. Heart. H-E-A-R-T in your chest. Heart. Head. Hands. Heart. Head. Hands. Everyone together. Heart. Head. Hands. One more time. Heart. Head. Hands. One more time. Now without the words, without the words. Without the words. One more time. Very good. Let's talk about those three now. Because we're talking about small changes that make a big difference. The heart. The head. The hands. Anytime you are a leader, this is what kind of conference? This is a leadership conference, right? See, managers and leaders are different. Managers manage things. Managers manage process. Managers manage the systems. But leaders lead people. I can never lead this pulpit. I can manage this pulpit. I can never lead this microphone. I can manage the microphone. I can never lead the chair. I can manage the chair. I can never lead the lighting system. I can manage the lighting system. You manage only that which you control. For example, that is why I want you to remember something that you are teaching out of my book, What's Shaking Your Ladder. There's no such thing as time management. But there's certain thing known as time allocation. Because management is only for things you can control. That you can produce and you can control. How many of you produce time? And how many of you can control your time? You can do that, can you? So there's no such thing as time management. There's only time allocation. You can allocate time. So for you to be here this morning, guess what you have done? You have allocated time. You're not managing time. He is managing your time. Because He said to you, from this time to this time this is going to happen. From this time to this time it's going to happen. From this time to this time this is going to happen. So there's no such thing as time management. So there's time allocation. So the first one is what? The heart. So as a leader, when you're motivating people, as a leader when you're casting vision, as a leader when you're moving forward, the first place you have to appeal to is people's what? Heart. Our challenge in business and church is we immediately go to people's what? Hands. Because we want people to work. We're always looking for workers with their what? Hands. But how many of you know unless you reach their heart, their hands will get tired very soon? How many of you are parents? Parents. You have children. Okay, can I see your hands? Keep your hands up. Some of you are not sure. Some of you are kind of going like this. Okay? How many of you know that when they keep you up at night, when they don't let you sleep at night, your hands start getting tired? But because in your heart you do what? You love them. It gives you power with your hands. So whenever you're motivating people, never tell them, this is a golden nugget, never tell the people what you want them to do. You start by telling people who you want them to become. Because if I ask you to be an usher, a greeter, a protocol, that is something you're going to do. But if I ask you to become the woman of God, the man of God that you're supposed to be, that you're called to be, now I'm appealing to your what? Heart. Most people do not appeal to people's hearts. They only appeal to their hands. So the pathway to getting success in life is what you appeal to. You appeal to their heart. The next thing you do is what you appeal to their head. So heart is how a person feels. Head is how a person thinks. The Bible says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Your thoughts guide you. Let's talk about thoughts for a moment. Let me give you the 7 steps to destiny. Let me give you the 7 steps. I wasn't planning on doing that, but let me go ahead and give that to you. I'm going to spend 10 seconds on each one of them because that's not my major point at all. Because I've still got 3 more words to go. Here are the 7 words. Thoughts. Number 2, words. W-O-R-D-S, words. Number 3, decisions. Decisions. Number 4, actions. Number 5, habits. Number 6, character. I'm going to give this to you again. Number 6, character. And number 7, destiny. Number 7 is what? Destiny. The first is what? Thoughts. Second is, third is, fourth is, fifth is, sixth is, seventh is. Okay, let me do it one more time. And I'll give you a test again. Are you all ready? I'm a testing man. Because that's how I know I'm making impact. Okay, the first is what? Thoughts. Second is, third is, fourth is, fifth is, sixth is, seventh is. All right. Okay, look up. Everyone look. Oh, this. No cheating. If your neighbor is cheating, I want you to stand up and say, she's cheating. All right, here we go. I'm waiting for everyone to look up here. Even the choir members are cheating right now. See that lady in the pink hat. The third lady from the, yes, right there. Here we go. The first is thoughts. Second is, third is decisions. Fourth is, fifth is, sixth is, seventh is. Very good. Let's talk about them very, very quickly. 30 seconds on each one of them. Thoughts. We've already decided that the Bible is true when it says that a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Everything began with a thought. This conference began with thought. This speaker began with thought. This microphone began with a thought. This table began with thought. This chair began with thought. This carpet began with a thought. That screen began with thought. That poster began with thought. This gold-plated pulpit began with a thought. This keyboard began with a thought. The balcony began with a thought. Everything in the world began with a thought. The idea. You remember? And then, because we think of certain things, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So next comes the Word. That is how the world was created. In Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2, the Bible says that the Holy Trinity got together and they said, let us. That was the idea. And then God started doing what? Speaking. Now I want to give you a secret about words. The first use of words in the Bible was not to communicate. The first use of words in the Bible was not to communicate because there was nobody to communicate with. Man was not made till the sixth day. So he's not talking to fishes and birds and animals and plants and rivers and valleys, sun and moon. So the first use of words in the Bible was not to communicate. The first use of words in the Bible was to create. Did you know your words have creative power? When you say, I love that, something comes out. Your words can destroy, your words can build up. The Bible says blessing and cursing is in the power of the tongue. So why is it that we speak death over our things rather than life? That is why when you cut out the negative people from your life, you can have more life. So thoughts, words, and once you start talking something, then you make a decision. Once you make a decision, that turns into an action. Let's talk about that. Action. Have you had some people that come to you for counsel, come to you for advice, want to know, what should I do about this? And you give them your wisdom. You tell them, this is what I think you should do. But they don't do it? And they keep coming back to you again and again? How many of you know what I'm talking about? They keep coming back to you again and again, asking the same question. And you keep telling them what to do. Can I tell you why it does not work? Because action is step number 4. So if I'm here, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. If this is the action step, and I'm here, and you tell me what to do, you're asking me to go from 0 to step number 4. And no one can do that. The first step when you're helping somebody is to ask them the question, what are you thinking? The second question is, what are you saying? The third question is, what are your decisions? And now you can go to what? That is why most people never get to action, because they don't have the right thinking. They don't have the right words. They're not making the right decisions. And therefore, when you tell them to do the right action. So even today, at this conference, unless you have the right thinking, unless you say the right words, unless you make the right decisions, you will never have the right action. If you make the right action, you do the action again and again, it becomes a habit. And then habits become part of your character, which lead you into your destiny. So, the heart, the head, and now the hands. Let's talk about hands for a minute. When you ask people to do something, heart is, this is what you feel. Head is, this is how you think. Hands is, this is what you do. Feel, think, do. Everyone together. Feel, think, do. One more time. Feel, think, do. Because we ask people to do, but their doing is not going to be powerful unless they feel. And then they think. And then they do. So don't get frustrated anymore. When you leave from here, you know when you ask people to do something and they don't do it with their full heart, it is simply because they don't have it in their heart. They don't have it in their head. They are only trying to do it with their hands. And their hands will get tired very soon. But if you want people to keep doing it energetically, keep doing it for a long period of time, keep doing it with all their heart as unto the Lord, you've got to reach their heart, their head, and then their hands. Everyone okay? Let me give you the test. No notes. Everyone starts going like this. Okay, keep looking. The first word was product, which is the what? Which is hard to change. The second word is process, which is how, which is harder to change. Third is people, which is harder to change. The next set was impact. Good. Excellent. Good class. So first word is what? Second is, third is impact. Then the next word is your, this is how you feel. The next is your, this is how you, the next is, this is what you, very good. You all are amazing. Brilliant. I hope the people on Abuja tonight are as brilliant as you. Probably not. The fourth set of words. Then I'm going to conclude with that. Do some question and answers. We're doing all right? Do some question and answers. And then I'm going to conclude after that. And then we will dismiss this session, go on to the next session. I want you to know that my sessions are elementary, academic, shallow. The deep speakers are coming behind me. So when you talk about river, I'm just getting your toes wet in the river. By the time you get down into the afternoon, you'll be in deep river. And then you're going to look back and say, you know that Indian guy? He was kind of shallow, not deep at all. The fourth set of three words. Ready to write them down? Hard work. H-A-R-D. Hard work. H-A-R-D. Hard work. Second, heart work. H-E-A-R-T. Heart. H-E-A-R-T. Like in your chest. Heart work. The first one was what? Hard work. H-A-R-D. Hard work. Second is heart work. Third is homework. H-O-M-E. Like assignments. Home work. You know, I know it's difficult.